So you're going to see this on a lot of retrofit
Yeah.
can lights. So it's just one and done. You're buying those, and there's a little tunable light on the color temperature adjustment on the back of those. So that way, it's a great feature.
Hey, we made it. What's going on? How's your day today?
My day is good. It is almost 50 degrees. So I'll tell you,
Hey,
sun shining.
Midwest is looking up there. Yeah.
Got to take the dog to the park and just,
Cool.
get some fresh air. So yeah, I'm in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just wait. You got one more week of a blizzard coming.
Yeah, right. It'll happen.
Always pops up at you.
Yeah.
Out
It's
there.
way too early for winter to be over. It's still February.
Yeah. We have my bulbs are starting to come out of the ground, and we're getting buds on some of the bushes, and yeah, it's
nice.
Crazy. It's a little early. I'm a little worried.
I'll take an early spring.
So, yeah, sure. As long as something doesn't come and bite us in the butt and our plants die. I don't want that. Not good for the bees. Honeybees coming out early thinking this is going to be great, and then all of a sudden get a cold snap.
True that.
Nobody gets back in the hive fast enough. Anything else? Anything new and exciting at work, at home? Stella, everybody's doing good?
Work is interesting. I had another nice monthly meeting this morning, so got to talk to my guys for, an hour or so this morning at nice breakfast, and just kind of catch up on some stuff. So that's always somewhat productive, So I always have to do the I learned this term recently, but I don't know if you ever heard of the compliment sandwich. I've been utilizing that quite a bit. I kind of like that, It's like, you're doing a great job. Clients are happy. Here's what you need to improve. And then another compliment. I like that. I like that layering. So
yeah, it's nice that you finally came into the 21st century, that those things been around for 20 years.
I'm a slow learner, Joe. You know this.
I'm well aware.
I think it's pretty common, but I don't think I've ever heard of that term before, to be honest.
Really? Yeah, no.
I don't think I ever have up until recently.
Okay.
Anyway, so that
been doing it to you since the day I met you.
I believe it, actually. Yeah, I believe it. The meat of that sandwich was the same shit I say all the time. Was just ounce of prevention, pound of cure, protection. Right? And I got blamed from a client for a shower door that was installed that has a nick in it.
The glass?
Yeah. Now, it was installed, and I know it was not like that when my installer put it in. I know it wasn't like that. He would have seen it, and he certainly would not have tried to pass it off as it was fine. I looked at it after it was installed. Looked fine. Looked great. We were in there doing nothing other than punch list stuff after he was done. So it was a couple little paint touch-ups, putting in toilet accessories, bath accessories, TP holder and towel bar, that kind of stuff. And that was it. And they tell me a week later, now they've been using it. And they tell me a week later, there's a nick in the shower door. Is there? Yeah. They could bring on a whole other conversation of how to close out a project and
it's too late. Substantial completion has been taken place.
Exactly.
According to our contract.
It's in the contract.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But
that's tough.
That's where that conversation came up. But stemming from that was my guys actually did move a brand new washing machine because we were tiling a floor. Moved the washing machine into the garage, and then we're moving it back in after the floor was done. And they somehow scratched it. And of course, no one saw anything. No one did anything. Could have happened when it was in the garage. If it happened in the garage, why on earth was it even exposed for the possibility of that happening? Right. So now I have to get an appliance repair guy out there to go spray finish the brand new washing machine. It's that kind of stuff. So anyway,
gotcha.
that was my day today.
Interesting. My issue this week was plumbing related. And not in the sense of anything going wrong, just in the sense of purchasing. My electrician, in a previous podcast, we had talked about how I'm on the fence of and trying to work with current plumbers and having them purchase the materials, or am I purchasing the materials? And we talked about currently I'm purchasing the materials. So we're working with a plumber now, and he was going to purchase all the materials, and the plumbing supply house that he was going to purchase all the materials from just kept stringing him along and not providing him with a proper quote to finalize and get everything ordered. And I don't know why, because we're paying tens of thousands of dollars for these plumbing fixtures. I mean, it's a very expensive plumbing package. I would think that they would be on top of it. Well, 3 weeks of him going back and forth trying to get this done, and he's doing it all over the phone because he's working and all that. And, so anyways, long story short, I'm like at my wit's end. I'm worried. I'm like, need to get these things ordered because, we're going to have weeks of lead time. And so I'm like, look, where are you ordering them from? Don't worry about it. I'm going there. I'm on my way there right now. Like, somebody needs to be the squeaky wheel here. I get there, walk in, everybody's nice and nobody's not nice, but I get there, and after spending 45 minutes with the salesperson, eventually getting him to enter it all in for a quote, come to find out there's like 7 or so items on the list that he can't provide or supply.
Okay.
Which was a huge pain in the butt. Like, why didn't you start with that 3 weeks ago? Right? So finally, I was, okay, let's work through this. So anyway, long story short, I ended up leaving, going to another supply house, and just walked right in without any heads up or anything. Just walked in, gave them the list, boom, pointed it out. I had it ordered in 10 minutes. Everything except for 2 items that they can't source. So I'm just going to have to do it myself. But it was just like, seriously, I don't understand why I got jerked around for 3 weeks, or why my plumber got jerked around for 3 weeks. So
right.
That was like huge frustration this week, trying to get that all done. There was both plumbing supply houses, both of them. There was no sense of urgency, no customer service, none whatsoever. It's driving me up the wall about this customer service in our industry. Just effing blows. And I don't understand why. I just don't understand why. Anyways,
yeah,
that's my day.
Okay.
That was my week. So, but enough of me ranting and raving about that. Well, that felt good. Get off my chest. Well, here we go again.
There's always a little bit of venting
week
on this show, man. It's necessary, in this business, it's necessary.
Yeah.
Too many
here we
moving
go.
parts for
Another
things to
week
go right all the time. There's always some kink
us
in the
complaining on the Renovation Situation podcast. Yeah, absolutely. And here where we pull back those complex layers of the remodeling industry, including customer service. So grab your beverage of choice, and I hope you listen. I am Joe, and I have I'm drinking reposado today. A little tequila on my end. What do you got over there, sir?
Jesus, you're in for
what do you have?
Yeah, you're in for a night.
This is gonna be a good one.
I took the opposite route. I'm going with a nice domestic beer. Instead, it's almost 50 degrees, so spring's in the air. I like a crisp beer after late afternoon after work.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair. I think I'm getting ready. I'm going out of town tomorrow. I'm going heading to a wedding this weekend, so I'm prepping my liver, I think.
Right? Where to? No,
I don't want to say because it's embarrassing. It's nowhere fun at all. It's the southern Midwest area. Not much fun.
Southern Midwest area. Okay, you don't even want to be specific. Yeah. You just want to say.
I don't. I'm leaving it at that. Yeah. Don't come and find me. Yeah, I'm going to be hiding.
Okay, have fun in Missouri.
Yeah.
So today, what are we talking about today? I think we're going to go on the continuation of the 101 series. Just kind of we like to do these little these little, just kind of touch all the bases, and kind of see what we like talking about, see what flies, and see what stems from that. And maybe we get some better, more productive, more honed in conversations down the road, I think. But we talked about plumbing last week. So I think today we were talking a little bit of electrical and lighting. And I think,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be a nice, boring conversation. Electrical.
Depending who you're talking to, yeah. Yeah. Some people find electrical interesting. I find lighting interesting more so than electrical, for sure.
That's true. Yeah. 100%. I bet you the homeowners that are listening also, I bet you they are more interested in lighting as well.
Yeah. And so maybe we concentrate a little bit more on the lighting itself. I mean, we could bore everybody to death talking about electrical safety and grounding and GFCI outlets and GFCI breakers and arc fault breakers. And see, you're already not paying attention. Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Or we talk about lighting plans and, different color temperatures of lighting and how to institute all that, and under cabinet lighting, in cabinet lighting. And these are
sounds great.
To me, crucial points to a good end result.
Sounds wonderful. All right. Perfect. Which topic would you like to start with, sir? Let's do this.
All right. Well, then in that case, let's just talk about, for basics, if we're doing a lighting plan, let's talk about Kelvin scale. Just what color temperature is your lighting going to be?
Yeah, well, let's just talk about that first. Do you know what Kelvin is? Kelvin is the temperature of the light, and therefore ends up emitting the color that we see. Right? So we have bright daylight, like what the sun provides us. That's somewhere around the 6,000 Kelvin number. And then you have all the way down to something that's very soft, warm, and more red. That's going to be more down to the 18,000.
Something like a candlelight.
Like a candlelight is going to be below the 2,000 number. We don't generally put that in anywhere. It's hard to find too sometimes, but we often can get to 300. I see a lot. And sometimes we put those in bathrooms a lot, not for your overall task lighting, but just for the mood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's to me more so what it is. I agree. It's that gives you that kind of winding down into the night, glass of wine, just warm, cozy, comfortable tone,
Right.
As opposed to that broad, like you said, 5,000, 5,500, which is going to be your, hospital room, bright white light that or interrogation light, just not a very comfortable scenario, at least for me. Some people like that, and I'm not one of those people. I'm 3,500 and down.
Yeah, so what's the most common color temperature do you put in a house?
3,000.
For you guys. 3,000. Same here. Everything is usually always 3,000. It's a good right down the middle. It's perfect for pretty much every scenario. And that's why we choose 3,000. Now, 2 years ago, I did 3-bathroom remodeling project, and everything in all 3 bathrooms that we wanted to be at the 2,700 level. So we had to go around and change everything to that. But yeah, 95% of the time we're putting in 3,000 everywhere.
That's usually my standard, and then that can deviate a little bit up or down depending on the design and depending on paint colors and backsplash tile and cabinet colors and floor finishes and all that kind of stuff. So I of course, don't want to get too far into this without mentioning the fact that a lot of manufacturers have gone the way of instituting a color adjustable fixtures. So you're going to see this on a lot of retrofit can lights. So it's just one and done. You're buying those, and there's a little tunable light on the color temperature adjustment on the back of those. So that way it's a great feature, because you don't know 100% if you're standing in a tile store what that's going to look like in your house, countertops until you see them in your house, all that stuff. So to be able to have that adjustment and change that color temperature is a lovely thing.
Yes, it's a lovely thing for all of us because just in case you wanted to change that color last minute, we're not changing the fixture and we're just clicking a little. Now that's very good for like can lights in the ceiling.
Yes.
But what about light bulbs in a light fixture, let's say? Those generally aren't, you have to buy that light bulb in the temperature color that you want ahead of time. Now, to get around this, you can get those Bluetooth smart light bulbs where you can connect them to your home software if you're having like a smart home situation set up, or you can direct it just to an app from the manufacturer. And then you can control the lights and put on any color you want. My entire top floor of my house all has that set up, so I could turn the colors to purple if I wanted, all within the app in your phone. They do require to be hooked up on your Wi-Fi network, but other than that, you're ready to go. That's a good way, like retrofitting an old house with some smart features.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think GE has Sync, I think. CYN, Sync. And I know there's a couple others out there that everyone's got their own setup. So
yeah,
you can take a look at that. Yeah. That's, that might be another good podcast to do is smart home stuff. Like it's getting crazy now.
Oh yeah.
Everything's got a Wi-Fi connection, right? It's ridiculous.
Yes. So what about lighting layouts? I mean, ambient light, general light.
Let's just first talk about like making sure we have one, right? Like how important is it to have one?
Oh, good point.
Right? Like so overly looked like passed off and not even thought. It's a second thought. Crap, we're putting the appliances back together into the kitchen. We forgot about having a light over the refrigerator area or something like that.
Yeah,
it's always forgotten, overpassed.
Yes,
so
agreed. And it's crucial because otherwise you're getting into that conversation halfway through a remodel, and then it's, well, the electrician's showing up. Well, what am I doing? Where am I putting can lights? How many can lights? What diameter can lights? Are we doing wafer lights? Are we doing true, remodeling cans? That's going to give you, to me, a truer light if you're using actual bulbs versus a wafer light. As much as I love wafers, people do tend to say there's a little bit of a glare to those, and I kind of agree. They have a slight glare as opposed to a true light. Do you not see that?
Well,
maybe you're using better.
I don't. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. I've never had that complaint or seen that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what is a wafer light? What are we talking about?
So a wafer light is an LED, right? Light emitting diode. And originally, at least to my knowledge, when these first came about, it was kind of instituted as one that some of them were just retrofits. It was just a plug-in. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't even say it. It was just retrofit could be different, but the LED wafer light was really the idea of fitting those into small spaces. So if you had a soffit with ductwork running through it or some other obstruction where you could not put a can light in that location, this wafer light is so slim that it's literally the thickness of the drywall. So you could connect that and put it wherever you wanted. Right underneath, you put it right underneath the soffit, right below ductwork, totally fine. Plumbing pipes in that joist space, you want to put a light there, go right ahead. Solved a lot of problems for sure, right? Because that lighting layout, as far as rough-ins, if you were putting in can lights, that was key. Where's your plumber running his stuff? Where's your HVAC running his lines? So you can make sure you have room to put in your can lights. Now you can plug those can lights in right underneath anything, and we just keep making electricians' jobs easier. I think we harped on electricians last week a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we just keep making their job easier, and they still complain the most.
Yeah, we do. I agree. Those wafer lights are awesome. We can put them anywhere. they're great. And then on top of it all, they come where you can get like between 3,000 and 6,000 or 3,000, 5,000. They have like 3 or 4 or 5 different settings
Yeah.
on the temperature color.
Yep.
So that's awesome too.
Yep. Some the ones I
Yeah,
just put in were 2,700 to 5,500. Ones I just put in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're LEDs. They're great. Now, back in the day when they first came out, we were having an issue with them talking to the light switches a lot. So the big complaint that we used to get a lot is that when you turn the light on, if you didn't have the proper switch, which nobody really knew if you did or didn't at the time, unless it either worked or didn't, was you would get a flickering in the light sometimes when you turned it on, or it wouldn't dim properly if you had a dimmer on it. So those were big problems. I remember running around houses replacing these switches with all kinds of random different manufacturer switches to find which ones were going to work. And despite what you would find on their web manufacturer's website. So it was a crapshoot back in the day on this stuff. Now I haven't had that problem in a few years. It seems like everybody has gotten that stuff all figured out. So it's great. I love them.
Yeah.
I think what's the important part about this all is that we have this conversation, like, homeowners, please, please, please make sure your contractors are thinking about where the lights are going to go. Have that conversation. It's a whole nother plan set, right? You have the mechanical plan set, you have a plumbing plan set, you have electrical plan set, you have a lighting plan set. You plan on where the lights are going to go, what's going to be lit, how is it going to be lit. It's like people go to school for lighting just to have a lighting plan and understand where and what and how to light. We've been many, many years ago, I met this designer who just totally changed my mind on lighting, where she had told me that we're going to put the light fixtures, like these can lights, we're going to put them 2 feet off of the wall in your kitchen, so they line up with the edge of your countertop. Now, that was a new concept. Now, we're talking about dating myself. This was a decade ago, right? But this is what introduced me to how important lighting was, because before we were just putting can lights down the center where you're going to walk, right? And what I noticed after that project was you're standing there at the countertop to cut or do whatever it is you're going to do, and there's no shadow. So you have enough light. And yeah, you can do the under cabinet lighting that does so much, and it's an ambiance thing also, so it's cool, but still, like, having that downlit light for activity is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's really important. I guess that's most important, is just let's not forget about it. Let's not forget about it. Now, these can lights aren't these wafer lights, right? So these lights come down at 120-degree angle, as opposed to these old can lights with the bulb screwed up in the middle of them. They're coming down at more like a 60-degree angle or something like that. Don't quote me on these numbers, but roughly that's what you're getting. So these really cast a very nice floodlight situation. So awesome. Can't say enough about them. I know they're not new to the industry out there, but it's funny. Just 4 years ago, I had to go out and videotape myself installing these to show my team how to do them. And I didn't think that they were new 4 years ago. So you never know who you're going to run into or who you're talking to, but
sure. Yeah.
They're awesome. They're everywhere now. They're great. And they don't take up a whole lot of energy either. So energy efficient.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yep. All true.
Have
all
a
true.
plan.
And in the same thought process is that if you're going, even with the edge of the countertop, so typically rule of thumb, if you're doing that, you're putting them 26 inches off the wall, because your base cabinets are 24, countertop overhang 25 and change. So usually putting those about 26 off the wall. But at the same time, see what that's going to look like off of the cabinets and appliances and where all those things are. There's so many people would just, oh, sure, here's a lighting plan, and let's just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just evenly spaced lights. Why? If you're going to have one here when your refrigerator is a foot over, put it in front of the right centered on your refrigerator, right centered on that cabinet above the refrigerator. It's a beautiful difference. It's just you're that little bit of thought to lay that out in relation to where your cabinets are, where your appliances are, makes a huge difference in your end result.
100%.
Yeah. I'll get off my soapbox.
Agreed. 100%. No soapbox needed.
But still, always, beyond that, like you said, that you touched on under cabinet lights, always under cabinet lights. I am not the biggest upselling type person. I kind of like to listen to what people want. I don't care who you are. If you're remodeling your kitchen, put in under cabinet lights. For the love of God, do it.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them. Have you ever
heard of somebody that didn't want them? Yeah, that was like, oh my God, rip them out. I can't stand them.
Right.
Like, no, they're awesome.
Right. Yeah. Never had anyone say, I wish we didn't do that. Never.
Yeah. Put them on dimmers and they're awesome. You have great task lighting to turn them up, and then at night you can turn them down and just have that as a nice ambiance lighting for the nighttime.
The night light in the back just lights up your backsplash a little bit. Keep that on, and I love that.
100%.
In the same tone, if you're doing that, do it right. I walked into a kitchen the other day for an existing client. We actually had to redo a long story, had to redo something that someone else had done years ago. It was before they knew me. So anyway, when we were in there, I looked at the under cabinet lighting that they put up, and it was tape lights, which are fine. We use the tape lights all the time. But if you're using the tape lights, put them in aluminum channels, mount them properly, and put diffusers on there. Put the end caps on there. Really just do it right, because these people just put tape light and literally just taped it up under the cabinets. So part of it's falling. They're at different dimensions off of that back or front of the cabinet, wherever you want to measure from. So it shows differently. And then you see the hot spots on the counter, right? So you can see this jagged
LEDs,
LED reflection on the counter. So do it right.
Yeah. I remember when those first came out, we were dealing with a lot of that. Yep.
Yeah. And we've worked out all the kinks.
Good point.
Yeah. Put the aluminum channels up, put the diffusers on, do it right. And it makes a world of difference.
Yeah. So before we get off the topic, contractors, definitely ask your clients, Calvin, have that conversation about temperature colors ahead of time before you order everything, before, part of the pre-construction design agreement, whatever, part of that process should be one of those questions. What color of the lighting are we after? Because like sconces might be different than your overhead light, might be different than your pendant light. They're being all used for different things. The homeowners might want different colors. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think that's really important. Make sure we have a plan, communicate, ask ahead of time. It'll make your life a lot easier.
Agreed. Have a lighting plan, have a fixture schedule, have that all figured out. Absolutely.
As far as under cabinet lighting, what works really good for us right now is there's always where does the line end with the cabinet guy and the electrician guy and the project manager installing those? It was something that just kept coming up on my project a lot over the years. What works out best for us now is our cabinet guy provides the aluminum channel and the diffuser, rabbits it into the bottom of their cabinets, installs them, and then the electrician comes back and installs the light in the channel, puts the diffuser on, makes the connections, and boom, done. Everybody's happy. So we do that now. It's awesome. Works out super great, because then everything's in line and rabbited in, and you don't have your project manager underneath brand new cabinets, cutting out the bottoms of the cabinet to try to get the channels to work. And forget it.
Agreed. Yeah, that's. I think
so
that
works out great.
That's an excellent strategy. That makes a lot of sense. Let the cabinet guy round out the cabinets. He's going to do that nice, clean, uniform, consistent. Let him do it. Let him install everything, and let the electrician do the electrical part. I completely agree. Yeah, It makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. We toyed with that too. We went back and forth with that for a while too, because, my guys are installing cabinets or I'm installing cabinets. And so I like doing the under cabinet lighting. One of those little things I kind of enjoy doing. So it was kind of fine doing that. But I had my electrician, actually new electrician about 3 years ago, had him do it. I said, yeah, can you just supply the under cabinet lights, put them in? He said, yeah, no problem. Well, he put the old looking, they're old looking. They're not old. They're still LED, whatever, but they were the boxes, and I'm talking like a box. And I was like, no one wants to see that shit. I'm like, why would you put these in? So I talked to him about it, and he said, well, we had problems with people not liking the color temperature. They wanted to change the color temperature. And if you get the tape lights, you can't change the temperature. So we started using these. It was the slimmest one I could find. It's still LEDs, whatever, but they're color tunable. So I was like, all right, I get it, but nonetheless, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see that giant box. You feel like it's 1987, that's probably not 1987, but you know what I mean. 1997, maybe we're old.
Yeah, 97.
Yeah, 97. Yeah. I didn't have an 87, but whatever. But after that, now we started to develop that where it's like, okay, let's make sure this is accounted for ahead of time. We're going to include the 3000K under cabinet lights. If you want to see what that looks like at different color temperatures, happy to show you what that looks like before you commit to it. But this is what we're including. But let's be sure this is the color that we want so we can do that nice, sleek aluminum channel diffusers and no one sees the lights unless they're on,
Right. Yep. Okay. What else we got? Electric 101.
Electric one. We're talking about lighting. Do we want to talk about electric? Do we want to talk about National Electric Code?
Whatever you got.
Building codes and all right.
Well, let's just say that you should build to the code. You should actually, hire an electrician. Period.
Hire an electrician. Period. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Always.
And make sure that they're.
I guess the reason I mention that is always check your National Electric Code is usually like the staple. Everyone adopts that, right? Every municipality is going off National Electric Code, but they will adopt different municipalities. Sometimes will adopt different things. So always check with your local building department, wherever you're working, what do you need to satisfy that permit? Just as a rule of thumb, and then,
yep,
and I say that because electrical code changes much more than anything else, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
We know how strong 2x4s are. We know things are over-engineered structurally. We were talking about LVLs and micro lambs and all that stuff. They figured all that stuff out. But
yeah,
electrical code, it's not too long ago that you had to have a GFCI in an island. And if that island was over a certain square footage, you had to have 2 GFCIs. And now they're saying they want 0. They don't want outlets in an island.
Well,
why?
Yeah, and it was getting worse than, let's just throw another monkey wrench, because they were starting to say, well, if the island's big enough, then you have to have them in the middle, like in the top of the countertop. So we were having to put pop-up outlets. Yeah. So now you got this funky thing in the middle of your countertop, right? It's so you spot on with this stupid electrical code changing as often as it does with this, the perfect example of a stupid island. Now we're not allowed to put any outlets in an island. It's just so bonkers. So now you know what everyone's doing?
It's ridiculous.
Okay. So you are required to bring electric into the island. Okay, you have to have a junction box buried into the island somewhere. Usually it's thrown in the back of a cabinet in the island. And period. Just run electric up there, cover it up, boom, done.
In case they change the code later, then you can adapt it.
Just crazy. They're required. You know what they're doing is they're just saying, I know you're going to put an outlet in later. We just don't want any responsibility of anyone getting hurt by using an outlet on an island. So what we're going to do is require you to bring electric to the island. That way we know your electrician has at least that electric up to the island properly. And then when we come and do your final walkthrough and say you're done, you passed inspection, then you can have your electrician come back, cut a hole into the side of the outlet or side of the island and put an outlet in. And the wires are already there. And that's what everybody's doing now. It's just stupid. And then there was those crazy rules where you couldn't have an outlet under an overhang on an island, and then only 6 inches from the top of the island. The rules were getting ridiculous. And so now they just said, you know what? We don't know what to do. So we're just going to wash our hands of it and you guys figure it out. And it's on you. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
However, I way prefer it this way because it's just get out of the way. You're monkeying it all up, right? Just go away. You're right. And I love the new rule. We'll bring electric up there, get out of here, and let us put the outlet where we want it and be done with it.
Yeah. All right. I like it. I guess.
What do you think about it?
I mean, so I just found it odd. We're constantly just satisfying the lowest common denominator, right? We're appealing
100%
to the biggest dummy in the room. And some people just say it's for kids' sake, which fine. Same thing, if you ask me.
Same thing.
The idea originally that you had to have electrical outlets in the island was because people were plugging in appliances on the wall and dragging it across and plugging in a blender on their island. And then a kid would come running into the room, clothesline themselves on the extension cord, and someone gets hurt. The blender's all over the place. It's still on. No one knows what's going on. There's stuff all over the place. Someone hits their head on a countertop. You're essentially satisfying that. That was the intention, right? That to me makes some sense. Yeah, we don't need to be dragging extension cords across a walkway. Let's make sure there's adequate outlets in the island for use. That makes sense. To backtrack on that, to me, is bananas. That's bananas.
Wow.
Yeah. You can't.
Would you rather them go to the nth degree, adding more ridiculous regulations and rules that don't make any sense with more outlets or less outlets or on the island?
No, good God, no.
Okay.
Good God.
Right.
I think
you're okay with them just saying, you know what? Here's an island, put electric in it and go away.
I'm fine with that. Yeah. I'm totally fine with that. Yeah.
All right.
Because people have been doing that for years. This satisfies code after the inspectors squash it. They close out the permit, then we can come in and do what you want them to do.
Are you going to tell me that you're going to try to control everybody and where they put an extension cord onto what outlet and where they're going to plug their appliances? I don't give a rat's ass if you decide to plug in your blender in the middle of the living room and you run a 10-foot extension cord. Who's going to tell you can't do that?
Right.
You do you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the whole argument of requiring you to put an outlet in the island because of that rule. Now I'm just talking about because of the example you gave, which was because somebody was putting an extension cord across the way, and that doesn't change. That scenario could happen all over the house in any scenario. At any point in time, somebody plugged something in. Let's say they're ironing a t-shirt and they plugged the ironing in, the cord up in the air, and the kid decides to run around. You can't stop that from happening. That's just good parenting or paying attention. And let's just face it, kids are going to be kids and they're going to get in trouble and they're going to get burned with something. And that's them growing up and learning. Sorry. It'll make them a better character as they grow up. So deal with it.
Right.
Yeah. Or just kick them out of the house and tell them to go play in the middle of the street.
Right.
But I don't know.
I mean,
okay, we got way off topic there, but
because I'm starting. That's crazy. My mind's starting to go political, where it's just keep making more and more rules, more and more laws, more and more everything, and you assume people are going to abide by them. It's like putting a little "no guns allowed" on a fucking door and walking into a public space. The person who has a gun who wants to shoot somebody doesn't care if there's a sign that says he's not supposed to bring his gun. It's the same kind of mentality. Just because you're not supposed to do that doesn't mean someone's not going to fucking do it. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're getting way off topic.
Yeah, I
And
can't
now
help
you
it.
just pissed off everybody. Yeah.
Good.
No worries.
Sorry.
All
Moving
right. What else we got on Electric 101? Do we even want to get into like the different types of electricity that you're going to run into over generations of remodeling? Like,
Yep.
I don't know if we even want to touch on that. This is 101, but there's knob and tube and
Yeah, I suppose you should know what you're looking at, right? So yeah,
stuff, right?
the
Yeah.
old knob and tube stuff you'll come across for sure.
Yeah. Does anyone even know what that looks like nowadays? Right.
Yeah, yeah. I've certainly come across it plenty of times. Just old Chicago homes, old North Shore homes. There's plenty of knob and tube running through attics and um, with insulation on top of it. Recipe for
Oh
disaster.
yeah. All over the place. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have these little knobs that are made out of ceramic and these wires are just like ran through them and they're screwed down tight onto the wire. And those knobs are just there to hold the wire in place, but the coating on them have been long gone, degraded and falling off and cracked. And technically, if you're not touching it, it's all good. It wreaks havoc on the idea of fire insurance. Anyways.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's really, really old. So if you run through a house and you pull down a wall or you look in an attic and you see these little ceramic bulbs and you're like, what is that? That's knob and tube wiring. And if you can, the best course of action is to not gnaw on it and try to get an electrician to replace it all. At least just turn it off and run new wires.
Yes.
That's probably the oldest stuff that you're going to find and see. And then you're going to run into the big debate of Romex versus conduit. And I guess that's not much of a debate anymore since everywhere is pretty much Romex. And then you have the little downtown Chicago that requires conduit, which is great. I actually prefer conduit and I wish we were all required to build in conduit.
Why do you say that?
We like to build. I like to build with the idea that it's going to last forever. And I want to plan ahead. I want to plan ahead for worst case scenarios and remodeling. If somebody wants to remodel this in 10 years, how easy is it going to be to upgrade, fix all that? And conduit allows that to happen. If a wire goes bad, I can just pull that wire out and shove a new wire through the conduit and boom, done. But with Romex, you're just basically running extension cords in your walls everywhere. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yes.
And they're not protected. So when it comes to mice in your walls who love to chew on wire, yeah.
Do mice love to chew on wire?
They do.
Really?
They do.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or how about drywallers throwing nails or screws into the wall, or anybody, not just drywallers? I mean, drywallers are the first ones that are going to go take a stab at it. It could be anybody later down the road. You go to hanging something on the wall, you're putting screws and nails in the wall. In theory, you could poke right through one of those wires. There's nothing stopping a nail or a screw like a conduit. It's a solid piece of metal that's ran throughout your house. Does it cost more? Is it more labor? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. And I think you and I are biased because we grew up with it and we know how to do it, and it's just second nature. Out here,
I didn't know that there was that much of a difference. I always been told that because like you said, we grew up on it. It was always hard pipe conduit. It was EMT and that was it. That's what you use. You were allowed 6 feet of width, 6 feet of flexible conduit. If you're doing sconces, if you're doing cam lights, whatever, right? So you're allowed that. And I was always told that I was like, oh, people in Florida get to use Romex. It's like extension cords. And I was like, really? That seems bizarre. And then I find out as I got older, it's almost everybody that uses this. It's just us that doesn't. I was up in Wisconsin for solar certification classes, and they were using Romex equivalent pretty much. And I said, what is this? They said, why are we why are we using this stuff? I said, we're not going to be able to use it. I don't understand why we're using it, while we're doing a hands-on workshop. And they said, what do you mean? Where are you from? And I was like, Chicago. And he's like, oh, that's why. It's like, yeah, you guys use actual hard pipe. I was like, what? What are you talking about? They don't use it. It doesn't exist. Which was just bizarre. It was like, this is what you guys actually... I wish I could use it here, because that way I could hire a 14-year-old to be my electrician. Just pull extension cords through.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't mean to insult electricians.
No, not at all. Of course not. No, we are pro electricians here. Absolutely. 100%. But you had brought up the 6-foot whip, and I wanted to mention that that's a little different than conduit. Although it is metal, it's flexible, right? So it's like a metal clad. We call it greenfield. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I say greenfield. It's flexible. Armored cable. Yeah, that's right. And there's a couple different versions of that. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. But all right. So I'm sure everybody's glassed over and bored out of their mind. If you're still listening, you probably have a very strong drink. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
There's a shitload of stuff for an electrical 101 that we didn't even touch on. But yeah, I think we were much more enthused about talking about lighting than electrical. So
yeah. I mean, really quick, I want to touch on the 612 rule when you're thinking about placing outlets. So you really want a lot of outlets. Everybody wants a lot of outlets, but the rule is the minimum is you have to have within 6 feet of every corner or every break in the wall, within 6 feet, no more than 12 feet in between each other, that kind of thing. So also the
kitchen's
2x4 wall. Yeah, the 4x4 the 2x4 rule in kitchens, right?
Yep. Same principle. Can't be more than 2 feet away from an outlet, no more than 4 feet apart. Same principle.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can't plug coffee over in 4 feet or 5 feet away.
Yeah.
I don't.
I just quickly brought it up just to it's just 101. Let's just make sure you have enough outlets. Make sure you talk to your clients about where they want the outlets. 101, most important pro tip is at rough-in. I don't care if you have an electrical plan and it's all spelled, laid out, and it's beautiful on the 24x36 sheet of paper and it's all color coded and blah, blah, blah. When that electrician shows up on the first day of rough-in, you should have planned for your electrician, the homeowner, to be there, maybe the designer as well, and you guys have a walkthrough for an hour or two, depending on the size of the project, and you're walking through with the homeowner and the designer, and you're literally taking a Sharpie, a pen, a sticky note, I don't know, smiley face stickers, and you're placing them exactly where the client wants a switch, an outlet, and walkthrough. I don't care if there's a plan. That's a good start. But let's do that now, because we don't want the walls to go up and start in the covering. And then all of a sudden that homeowner goes, man, I wish if there was an outlet here. Right. So let's walk through, plan ahead, spend some extra time doing that. That is key, because I don't care if you plan for 29 outlets. It doesn't matter, because the homeowners can't, they see it on paper. You're placing it based off of the 612 rule, whatever BS you're coming up with to place those on the piece of paper. But when you're walking through the space, the homeowners live a specific way. They have different needs and wants throughout their life, and they might live in that room differently than you see it. So let's ask them ahead of time, hey, how do you see this room? How do you feel as though you're going to use this room? What are you going to use? What kind of appliances are you going to use? And let's plan ahead. Is there somewhere that I can put an outlet that makes life a little bit easier?
Yeah, I like it.
Cheers.
Good tip. Cheers.
Boom, done.